Good morning, Ronn Owens, KGO Radio. We start off with Antonio Villaraigosa. Why? Because he is the former mayor of Los Angeles, and he wants to be the next governor. And usually the three people mentioned as the next governor, Gavin Newsom, John Chung, and Antonio Villaraigosa. I got that pretty good.
You did that very well.
Not bad. Trying to work on it. And to make you feel comfortable in the Bay Area, you said Trump ought to resign or be impeached. There's a problem with that. But, I mean, the problem is basically, number one, you can't impeach the guy because you want to impeach him for the reason I would, and that is the guy is totally unfit for the office. But that's not the way it works in the Constitution.
Actually, what I said, Ron, was that if the New York Times article and the memo by Mr. Comey are correct, that he, in fact, asked him to drop an investigation that was looking into improprieties, conversations, and maybe other things with Russia on the part of his campaign and maybe even him, then that would be obstruction of justice. And then, yes, that would be an impeachable offense. I didn't call for his impeachment. I said, if all of that is true, that would be obstruction of justice.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is the man is not qualified to be president. That's as simple as that.
That is the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
But as you said,
you can't impeach him for that.
Yeah, that's exactly
And the other
right.
thing, from a practical standpoint, there are two things. Number one, half the country voted for him. Whether you like him or not, half did. And can you imagine if he were pushed out of office, what the liberal elite would be called?
Well, actually, you know what I said the day after Election Day? I think most people here in San Francisco and in California had a bit of a hangover. And I said that we ought to work with him where we can and fight him where we have to. And you're right. Half the people did vote for him. And the country's evenly divided. And I respect that. But I think, as you said, I find him objectionable. And most of what he does unacceptable because he's gone farther to the right on virtually everything. If you got elected and the country was in the middle, evenly divided, why would you go so far to the other end across the board? Nobody has ever called for the deportation of 11 million people. Nobody in modern history has ever argued that we should do that. Nobody has said, as he has, that we shouldn't allow Muslims into the country and then did a ban to vindicate that. When you look at his policies, what he's done with his budget, a budget that would decimate the safety net, that would take money away from education, that would take money from the blind and the disabled, it boggles the mind.
Well, the good news is it's DOA when it gets to Congress. There's no way that budget is going to go. Having said that, let's talk about the state of California because, again, you want to be the governor. Here's the question. The state single-payer health care system. Should we go that route or not? And if we do, I think I've heard $400 billion is what it would cost. Where would that money come from?
Well, look, that's the question I've been asking. I've supported single-payer virtually my whole adult life. In 1994, I proposed as a freshman legislator to expand Medi-Cal to 200% above poverty for kids. In 2006, I supported legislation to begin the conversation. And if that's what they're doing, that's one thing. But you just said it. There's a $400 billion price tag. So when people like Gavin Newsom argue on behalf of single payer, I say right now what we need to do is we need to backfill the $20 billion that Donald Trump is proposing to take away from health care in California. We have a $180 billion budget. It's going to be tough enough to backfill that amount, much less pass something that really isn't realistic. We ought to have the debate. What we ought to do is fix the healthcare system we have now. We know that Obamacare reduced the uninsured from 17% to 7%. We can do better than that. We can certainly make healthcare more efficient That ought to be the priority, not something that is pie in the sky and platitudes.
It's not a real pie in the sky. I mean, Gavin did do it here in San Francisco,
No,
and a lot of what's being
what he
paid-
actually did
Yes.
was a thing called the San Francisco Plan. That would cost between 80 and 100 billion dollars if you took it across the state. And the reason why it would is because there's a great deal more uninsured in the rest of the state than there is in San Francisco, and there aren't the facilities in the Central Valley and a big part of the state. Look, I'm the author of Healthy Families. 750,000 kids got health care as a result. I've been for universal health care my entire life. And as I said, I support the notion of a single payer, but it's a distraction right now. We've got to figure out what we do to hold the line at a time when, Donald Trump is proposing to take $20 billion out of our healthcare system.
All right, so tell me, what do you do?
Well, I just said it. You got to hold the line.
Hold the line how?
Well, a few. I'll answer that for you. You got to address soaring drug costs. You got to look at the issue of public option as something that can help drive down costs in healthcare today. I think we got to look at Medi-Cal and expanding that in California. I think there are a number of things that we could do working with all of our stakeholders. We've got to make community clinics a bigger part of our healthcare system, focus a lot more on prevention. Those are some of the things we got to do.
But how do you lower the cost of prescription drugs, for example? I mean, these companies are making a lot of money. They make a ton of money, but they're doing it legally. What do you do? How do you stop that?
Well, we're going to have to look at the soaring costs and see what we can do to create more competition, to lower those costs. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult enough just to backfill the $20 billion. It's a distraction to talk about single payer as if that was something around the corner. It's just not.
We've got lots more to talk about with Antonio Villaraigosa. I stumbled. Damn. I tried not to.
You did as well as anybody does.
Is that
just
the way
don't
it
call
works?
me late for dinner, all right?
All right. Stop it, Rickles. You're killing me. Antonio Villaraigosa, former mayor of Los Angeles, current candidate for governor of California.